Lead in the home has been a concern since the 1920s, when the first efforts to ban or limit the presence of lead in plumbing was taken at legislative levels. Lead poisoning by way of leaching pipes was first recognized in the late 1800s, and since then, it has taken significant scientific research, public education, and lawmaking to crack down on its allowance in pipe construction. Lead is not a bacteria or virus that can be boiled or disinfected away. Even painted lead pipes can pose a danger as the paint wears off. Act 193 went into effect in 2010. It set further restrictions on the amount of lead that can be contained in plumbing fixtures, pipes, and solder. Manufacturers and retail outlets are not allowed to sell or distribute plumbing system components that will carry potable water intended for human consumption when the weight average exceeds 0.25% for plumbing fixtures and 0.20% for solder or flux. Plumbers and technicians are prohibited from installing lead piping that exceeds this limit as well. You must have a, quote, reasonable basis for believing that a particular product is compliant before installing it, end quote. The best course of action is to avoid using lead piping in systems that carry fresh, potable water. If an existing system already has lead pipes, inform the building owner or landlord and place a heavy insistence that it be replaced. By law, property owners are required to inform their residents or potential buyers of lead-based paint. It may be up to plumbers to identify and warn against the hazards of lead pipes in the plumbing network. Lead in the drinking water of public schools with older plumbing is also of particular concern to the Vermont Department of Health. In fact, a new act, Act 66, was passed in 2019 requiring all schools and child care providers in Vermont to test their drinking water for lead. If found at or above the action level of 4 parts per billion, the fixture or system must be removed from service and remodeled to bring the level down below the threshold. Children are especially susceptible to lead exposure because it lingers in their body and disrupts their growth. It is absorbed in the blood and bones, causing lifelong conditions like hyperthyroidism, immobilization, kidney disease, calcium deficiency, intellectual disabilities, anemia, even coma and death. It's no coincidence that another name for lead poisoning is plumbism, suggesting the strong connection between plumbing and lead poisoning cases. Lead is a naturally occurring heavy metal that is malleable and durable. Unfortunately, like so many other heavy metals, it's poisonous to humans. It has no purpose in our bodies, unlike iron or zinc, but even then, the quantities needed for survival are minuscule. Too much of any essential metal can be toxic. The average human body has about 3 to 4 grams of iron total. That's less than the mass of a 5-cent piece nickel. But no amount of lead in the human body is acceptable. 0. It should not be there. That's why the United States passed the Safe Drinking Water Act, and the Environmental Protection Agency set about limiting the concentration levels of lead and other harmful chemicals in our nation's drinking supply. New laws surrounding acceptable limits, the definition of lead-free labels, and other restrictions are constantly being added. Vermont's latest one, the Lead in Consumer Products Law, is just one in a long line of legislation aimed at reducing public exposure. Although it may be unrealistic to set a standard of 0 lead presence in plumbing systems across the nation, they can gradually lower the limit and tighten the restrictions. Lead testing kits are available in most hardware and plumbing supply stores. Consumers can even perform the test on their own, but they may ask you, a qualified plumber, to do it for them. The risk of brain, nervous system, and blood disorders is not worth the savings or convenience of letting a lead-contaminated system stay in place. Alert the proper authorities and provide an estimate for replacement if amounts above the recommended levels are found. You may be the only spokesperson in defense of human life when it comes to lead in a consumer's pipes. Being a little loud about it is called for. This concludes our 1-hour update on Vermont's plumbing rules. From all of us at Your Pace Online, be safe out there.